Me and another Marine Corps friend of mine had showed up to this court date because I do not go to court alone no more. It's just too dangerous for my life. Showed up to the September 21st court date, went and checked the calendars, didn't find my name on any of the calendars. Went and checked with all the official offices, wasn't on the list. So I took my bail bondsman papers and I went to the DA and I asked them to stamp my papers to prove I was here this day and this time. They gave me a little bit of trouble because they did not want to do so, but after about 10 minutes of argumenting and citing law, they finally went on and stamped the approval. About 5 days after September 21st, 2007, I came up on orders to go to quartermaster school in Fort Lee, Virginia. I was gone for 50-something days, and during the time I was gone, they decided to go ahead and prosecute and hold the court proceeding. Well, of course, I was not there. I was on military federal orders, and I fall under the Service Member Civil Relief Act, which all courts are supposed to honor. Well, my non-appearance turned into a warrant, and when I discovered that, I telephoned the court clerk from Virginia and let them know I'm on military orders, and they said, okay, that's fine, just bring them in when you come back and show the judge, and they'll just reschedule. I said, okay, no problem. Well, I came back from Fort Lee, Virginia in early December. And then I wasn't even back 2 days from Fort Lee when I got put on orders again. And immediately I had to leave and go to Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas for top secret training exercise. So during that time, I'm gone. I'm on 2 different sets of orders here. I came back and I walked in the courthouse to show the judge my orders. I didn't even make it past the metal detectors, and they told me to put my hands around my back, that I'm under arrest. And the Oriental deputy that arrested me with a couple of others, she took me in a holding room at the courthouse, and she was verbally abusing me and being really rough with my hands, trying to twist my wrist. This was the second time I was arrested, so it wasn't as bad as the first time, but the first time was actually the worst, because the first time Deputy Mansfeld, Deputy Demirest, Deputy Scott, Deputy Alois, Deputy Willis, they beat me, sexually assaulted me, and tortured me. And then when they transported me down to the jail, they labeled me as a belligerent, and their friends took care of me again down at the jail. And when I viewed the overhead cams after it took forever to subpoena, every time they started to commit physical violence on me, the tape just goes blank, and then there's time missing. There's 5 hours missing. There's 30 minutes missing here. So you can actually see them start to do something, but the tape goes black. And my attorney, Lee Stoneham, which is an alternate defender, he turns around and looks at me and says, well, I personally don't see what the officers did wrong here. He goes, you're facing up to a year here in jail because you got 6 deputies willing to testify against you and say you resisted arrest. Well, I did not resist arrest. I never would, because I know I wouldn't win. These irresponsible, corrupt individuals carry guns, and I don't. Now, I could say when I had my Deputy Demirest's fingers thrust up my vagina, it did kind of make me twitch, but no, I did not resist arrest. And I did remind him that a female officer must conduct that search, and that's when he put his hands under my shirt, pulled up my bra, and said, "Shut the fuck up, bitch. You're getting it anyways." And he slammed me against the wall. And Deputy Sergeant Mansfield was standing there laughing, and he said, "I'll teach you to fuck around in my building." And then that's when they took me down and tortured me in cell number 8 in the Lamoureux Justice Center in the city of Orange, 341 the City Drive in the city of Orange. That's where it all instigated right there. Just for filing 2 papers to try to fight to regain custody of my children.
When I was in the jail there, they knew that I had a neck and back injury. But still, they were rough with me, and they re-injured my neck and back, and my neck went out. When my neck went out, I'm down. I can't get back up because I'm pretty much paralyzed. I just can't move. And so they tortured me for 3 days, denying me food and water, and was ripping my blankets off of me, threatening me if I better get up or they were going to have their way with me. And they knew darn right. I told them, check my medical records. You know, I have a bad neck, and when my neck goes out, I can't get up. It took them about over a month. The doctor at the jail ordered me a neck collar, and I didn't get it until probably a week before I got out of jail.
Well, those doctors should be absolutely guilty of felony misprisonment because they witness abuse all the time, and they try to cover up for the deputies. But when you're a state medical licensed personnel, it is your obligation to report abuse. Mm-hmm. But yet these nurses, psychologists, and these jail doctors, who obviously are the scum of the medical profession, who can't get medical jobs anywhere else, you know, they seem to cover up for what these deputies do. You know, they play judge, jury, and executioner right there.
Well, you know, what do you expect? They worked for, you know, the corporation where they make an easy buck and they, you know, get away with, you know, literal, you know,
if
murder.
you want to see how easy of a buck they make, you need to listen to www.stoptyranny.net. When you listen to my 11th Arrest CD, you will see what they are doing on the clock, paid by our tax dollars, and what they do. They sit there, they plunder, they make sexual remarks against inmates, they talk about effing people up, they talk about bootlegging movies, they talk about how to avoid the FBI when they're asked questions. It's all on the CD. If you just have some patience and sit there, listen to it in your cars, listen to it when you come home, and you know, just have it playing, your jaw will hit the ground. And these are our deputies who are supposed to protect us from the very things that they're engaged in.
Yeah, at one point I was in jail, and I was in the medical, and there was this woman there in a wheelchair, and she was soiled by her own urine, and she sat there all day long. Not once did they help that woman to go to the bathroom. She had urine all over her clothes, and they made her sit there in her own urine, and she couldn't even get out of that wheelchair. This other woman, she was unconscious, and the doctor came up to her and shook her like this. Instead of looking under, taking a flashlight and looking at her eyes to see if she was there, and then he just turned around and said, call the paramedics.
That's because they want to shirk liability. In fact, there was a lot of, every time, I've been jailed 3 times because of this incident now, for fighting for my children and dealing with the criminal case that conspired from the juvenile case. But there was a woman in my isolation pod, because every time I've been jailed, I've been in isolation, and so has Christina, because they don't want us talking to people. But besides that fact, there was quite a few CPS victims in my pod this time, and there was one lady in her 40s. She had been in there over 3 months. The deputies had broke her shoulder. She had been in complete agony. She went to the foster house and took back her son, And that was the price she had to pay for that, was almost losing her life for retrieving her own child. And you know, I felt so bad for her, and I felt so bad for a lot of other people. I was in there with another lady who, young mother, who prior in the past had a drug history, but that was in the past. She had served her time for it. Not that I am all for that kind of stuff, but that was in the past, water under the bridge. Well, she had a baby in Orange County Hospital, and right when she gave birth to the baby, they took her newborn baby and put her straight in jail, and she didn't even have any charges pending against her. Isn't that amazing? Welcome to America.
Another fact is these health service, they charged me with fraud, stealing money from the government, when in fact they're the ones who were guilty of fraud, stealing money from the government. Here I have never been charged with a crime, but they had me on an $80,000 bond. There was this man I read in the newspaper while I was in jail. He got like 8 counts of molesting children at a foster home where they would import the parents to another country, and these teenage boys would come in the office to make phone calls home, and while they're sitting there talking to their parents in another country, they were being molested by this man. And they had him on a $100,000 bond. There was a social worker that was stealing information off of Social Security's computers. She racked up like $2.some million on some credit card charges. And she got a $5,000 bond. And here I am, innocent of this charge that they're trying to allege that I did, knowing that I'm innocent, but they had an $80,000 bond. Well, after my court date and my rights were terminated, all of a sudden they let me out on an OR. When I was there, there was this woman that had just received a 5-year sentence to go to prison because she's a gangbanger, she does drugs, and guess what? They didn't terminate her parental rights.
No, because her children are considered damaged merchandise, and they're not very adoptable like well-behaved, you know, children are. And that's what the system is aiming for. And they know with her, they're going to have reoccurrences, so they're going to have more business with her. You know, just like when you get out of jail and you're on parole, same thing. It's designed for you to fail, so they know you're going to be back there sooner or later.
Well, the classic type of children they're after nowadays is the ones with the blonde hair, the blue eyes,
particularly white
or,
and race.
you know, white and race, or the redhead, blue eyes.
Those are the ones that sell in the adoption agencies.
Yep, and if, especially if they're high needs children with medical needs.
No,
they
they're
can
only
get
high needs if when like my children and her children, they take them to therapy because the foster parents and the social work agency gets paid more, so they medicate our children. They cram these drugs down their throats.
Well, that's just it. You see, if they're special needs children,
right, they label them as that, but they're not really special needs children.
That's
just they cram these drugs down.
So they can get the drugs and they can get Social Security for them.
Absolutely, and it makes me sick.
And that extra $2,000 bonus checks when they adopt them out.
And it's just sickening how you American people's tax dollars fund this insanity 100%, but yet all of you want to go to your comfortable little houses, drive your little SUVs, and look the other way and don't want to recognize that this is a big Nazi Hitler problem going on right here in this country. You know, I went to war for all you people for 15 months out in Iraq and Southwest Asia, and you know, y'all need to stand up and you have the power to change this. You know, legislator, kill the Walter Mondale Act, kill that bill the Clintons signed. You know, the legislator, it's the only way it's going to change. Start not putting up with this. Don't let these social workers in your house. Don't believe something because somebody tells you so. say, I'm from Missouri, show me. Produce a law or a statute. If somebody tells you something and they can't back it up with something in writing, it's not valid. Because that's just about what they go on business. Complete 100% pure fraud.
You know, these children, they're healthy when they go into the system, but by the time the social workers and the foster care people are through with them, they are abused. Not just physically, but mentally as well.
Absolutely, and my daughter was possibly sexually molested because of a report. See, I made a mistake. I did the CPS psych evaluation under duress from my second private attorney, Art Lasalento. The CPS psychologist wrote an 81-page report about me stating that I need to be in a drug rehabilitation facility for 1 year and that I am not recommended any contact with my children whatsoever. She also stated, oh yeah, by the way, my husband, Danny E. Witherspoon, social security number, he's 66 years old, and he's got a long history of pedophilia, and he teaches high school at Valley High School in Santa Ana, California. Well, when I was 15, he was my school teacher, and we married at the age of 17. But the only problem is I thought I was the only one, but the other 4 wives before me were about the same age as me or younger. So he got older and the girls stayed the same. And right now my daughter is at that age where he would just be in a pedophile's heaven, and they want to give my children back to him, and the CPS psychologist recommended that he shall have custody of my children, which he has never raised, supported, or done anything for from the time of their birth. I raised my children all by myself in the military. But they want to milk me for child support after I've done the work.
Isn't child support a writ of attainder?
I believe so it is.